Welcome to the Look Who It Is podcast, where we sit down with artists to talk music, life, and all the stories in between. Now here's your host, Dane Engel.
Today with us we have singer-songwriter Lyal Strickland.
How's your day been going today?
Good. It's always wild on days that aren't show days, because I run cattle here in the Ozarks, and I've got two daughters. I've got a 4-year-old and a 20-month-old. So,
Oh my gosh,
it's
dude.
always wild, man.
Yeah, no kidding. 20-month-old.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I know. My kids are getting to that age where I don't have to worry about them. I just go do my own thing, and
Yeah.
I've been waiting for that for a while.
Yeah, I'm anxiously looking forward to the sleeping in factor
Yeah.
at some point. So they're great sleepers, but the last couple nights they're kind of under the weather, so they've been waking up at 4 in the morning, and we just put them together in their own room together, I guess. And it's pretty good, I think.
Have you been having a hot summer there too?
Yeah, it's been pretty wretched. Here, it just broke a few days ago, and so the last few mornings have been pretty nice. But in general, Ozarks weather is pretty decent. So, and I don't even know where you're based at. Where are you from?
Indiana.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, where in Indiana?
West Central. I live pretty close to Wabash River.
Okay, I used to play. I used to go up through, Bloomington and Indy, and then I used to play quite a bit in Goshen, South Bend area. But that's about my only experience with Indiana.
All right.
That and Three Floyds beer.
Oh yeah. Oh man, love that stuff. I could drink my weight in Gumball Head.
Yep. So
You as IPA man?
I am. Yeah, the Zombie Dust is
Yeah.
I haven't had it in years, but my buddy and I do a booze review YouTube show. So when we first got started, we did a lot of beer because it was pretty cheap. And so I'd make treks up north on shows and bring back some beer.
You ever had Spotted Cow?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
love
it's the
that
only
stuff.
beer that I've gone through a grocery store at 7 in the morning with an entire cart full of beer. And the cashier didn't say a word. She just looked at me and just kind of nodded her head and said, "Out of town?"
yeah. She's like,
was
I
like, yeah.
understand.
Uh-huh. So, yeah. But
Yeah, I usually try to have a couple beers before I start, help loosen me up, but I didn't have any tonight. So.
yeah, I've got some tea myself. I've been just kind of burning the candle at both ends, and somehow managed to have found myself in drinking capacity for the last week or so. So I figured I'd take a night off because I've got another podcast thing I'm doing tomorrow. That's the guy owns a dispensary, so I'm not really sure what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be great.
What's it? Is it pre-recorded too, or live streamed, or?
I think surely it's pre-recorded, right? I mean, it's got to be. I hope.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds interesting to me. It's always funny. Indiana's definitely nothing's legal here, but
Really,
every surrounding state is recreation, I think. So
nice. Yeah, pretty wild when it comes to that stuff. We're we're politically pretty conservative, I guess. At least it seems like that's how it goes. I feel like the people are more purple in terms of they're just extremes on both sides. But the way our electorate votes go and stuff, it's always a weird juxtaposition with the amount of booze and drugs that flow through this state. It's pretty wild.
So yeah, I'm glad you found this and messaged and stuff. I've been doing quite a few of these here lately, and I've it's been really interesting, and I've really enjoyed talking to everybody about their music and stuff. And you wouldn't even believe like all this new music that like because I'll listen to your music, and then
Hmm.
usually in our conversations we'll get into something that they'll be like, oh, I've really been into these people, so I'll be like, well, I'll look them up, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I like these guys too. And
Yeah.
it's like endless, and it's all these bands that are big, but I've never
Hmm.
even heard of.
Yeah. I mean, that's the industry right now is so like messed up in that regard. And it's good that there's opportunity for people to like kind of do it and get your stuff out there without the traditional filters. But man, it just makes it pretty hard, with the amount of music that's coming out every single day, um, to try to find an audience for that that allows you to keep doing it on some sort of sustainable levels. Pretty rough.
And there was a lot of people that messaged me or and stuff like that I would listen to their music, and it's not that it was bad, but it's like I heard so much of the same thing
Yeah,
that I was like, I need to find people that I'm like, this doesn't sound like the other 50 people who have messaged me.
yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, like I said, that lack of a filter is it's good in some ways and it's pretty awful in others. And Yeah, I don't know. I'm still grappling with it. I've been doing this for a long time, so it's it's I always say I'm like 2 days away from just going out and sitting in the woods and being done. So
And then something happens and changes your mind, huh?
yeah, I mean, I did sit in the woods for probably 6, 7 years. I had a really awful year, um, back in 2017. I think it was last year that I was like touring. I used to tour like 10 months out of the year all across the country, uh, and my dad passed away that year, uh, and he called me on a Wednesday, and he goes, well, if you want to see me again, you better get home on Friday morning because that's when I'm dying. And I was like, come on, man. Like, no, you're not. Like, quit being dramatic. And I was in Johnson City, Tennessee. I had a big showcase and a venue that I'd worked like 3 years to get into. That like Saturday and Friday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday rather. And yeah, I walked into a little bar. My mom had called me and said a friend of mine, Mike Vile from Ann Arbor, Michigan, was playing down the road, and I thought, well, that's happenstance, and I gotta go see him. And there's like no one in the bar, and then a friend of ours from Brooklyn walked in the back door. It was just like three of us and maybe a handful of patrons, um, watching the show. And Mike stayed with me that night in the hotel, crashed out with me, and he goes, he goes, you gotta go see your dad. Like you're gonna regret it if you don't. Um, so I went and I made it back like 7 minutes before he passed away. Just enough time to get upstairs and to his room and gave my sister a hug and told my dad I loved him, and we just watched him fade off into the ether. Um, Went back on tour, lots of shows canceled under new management, pay was wrong, and I was just a solo guy, so it was just me. And then came home, and my relationship I was in kind of ended on not super great terms. Went back on the road, came back, my dog died, went back. And the capstone was I did this radio gig in Austin with Ray Wiley Hubbard, and went out afterwards with some friends and got drugged at a bar there, and that was a huge eye opening moment for me, where it's like, oh, like this can happen to legit anybody. Um, and it happens all the time. But I'm 6'3" and a big dude. I'm not a fighter, but I'm a heavy carry out of the bar. Um, and Yeah, I just after that I think I had a 2 week run on the East Coast and did that and came back home and just thought this isn't real life. I'm gonna die if I keep doing this. So I legit just kind of sat in the woods and um, did a few things here and there. Met my wife, and COVID hit, and we had a little baby girl, and then another kid. And before I knew it, I looked up, and it was like 10 years since the last album. It's like if I do want to do this, I should do it. Been writing a bunch of songs, but nothing was really worth anything. And finally, last fall, went down to Texas for a music thing and wrote a big batch of songs I was really proud of, probably 10 or 11 of them in 2 days, and felt pretty good about that. So yeah, so we're back at it now. We're doing the damn thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's it's quite the lead up. I mean, I feel like, how much did all those songs you wrote like come from all of that,
I mean, that's the thing. I probably wrote I don't know, give or take a couple hundred songs over those years where I was just sitting at home. But they just weren't, I won't even say they weren't good songs, but they weren't my songs. I'm pretty big on I've got to experience something either directly or someone very close to me to feel like I've got a right to sing about it and have a piece of it. Not knocking anyone who's a storyteller. Some of my best friends craft wonderful songs that they have known nothing about personally, but they're great songs. But anyways, I wrote all these songs and they just weren't mine, and I think there was a big block where I just couldn't get out earnestly what I needed to get out. Like all of a sudden there was like people that were going to read my lyrics and hear my songs and see me at shows sing these songs and kind of go like, well, what's that about? My daughters, my wife, and the road is it's pretty hard living, can be anyway. I always thought I was pretty crazy, and I really wasn't, but I was around it. I look back now and like, I go play these honky tonks for, I do a 4-hour show, and then I'll wind up at someone's garage until, 6 a.m, and all sorts of crazy stuff was happening. And I was just like, this is wild, but somehow made it out, without too many problems. But yeah.
Going back to you having to personally be invested in that song, like, can you give me a specific, like a song and what?
Yeah. Well, like there's, I've got a song called Clyde and his Clippers that's about the local barber shop that my grandpa used to go to. And yeah, it's there's lots of stuff about my hometown here in the Ozarks. Songs about farming and struggling to get by. I need a piece of something to hang on to. I've got a song called The Hotel Maid that is not super autobiographical, but the opening line's about not paying your taxes for 3 years, and that 100% happened. They will send you a letter, and they will kindly sell your farm on the courthouse steps if you don't pay. So stuff like that. It's not like I hate the argument of like, especially in country, of like like, are they real country kind of thing. But I feel like it's a fine line, but you got to have some sort of cred. You got to live the life on some level, at least be around it. I don't know. On the other hand, like, I know folks who, get really irritated if your jeans are too short or your hat's not shaped correctly for your occupation and all that stuff. And I don't know, like that's too far. In the end, it's just music, but I think you can tell when someone's being honest about what they're singing.
I feel like I live in the country. I live on a farm,
Mm-hmm.
but like if somebody was like, go hop in the tractor and hook up the baler or something like that, I'd be like, I can't do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you're around out in nature, you're if you're out in small towns or something, that's not knocking folks in the city either. Like, it's, everyone has their way of doing it. in the Ozarks, we're pretty close to those Oklahoma boys, and some of them can get pretty pretty staunch on what definitions need to be used. And like I raise cattle, and then I call myself a farmer, but down in Oklahoma, they just can't like if you only do cattle, that makes you a rancher, and I'm like, no, I don't. Not a rancher. I got no horses. In fact, I just now got a side by side not that long ago, and a tractor not all that long ago. When I took over the farm, I just did everything by hand for the most part. I just walk out and gather the cows and bring them in, and it's pretty easy. I don't know. Sometimes listen to those cowboys, particularly in. Let me see if I can just push buttons on everybody here. Texas and Montana. I remember talking to some folks in Montana. They were talking about how cold it is during calving season, and they've got to gather up calves off the ground before they freeze and all this stuff. I remember just thinking, they do seem like true blue cowboys, But I'm like, it doesn't have to be that hard. Like, are you sure you don't want to move south a little bit?
Yeah.
where you can where it's not freezing cold. And the same thing in Texas. I'm like, man, we got pretty good grass up here in the Ozarks. I feel like if you just shot it up north a little bit, it'd be a lot easier gig for you. But I don't know. But I'm a pretty lazy farmer, so.
Hey, it's not lazy. It's innovative, or
When I got out of college, the plan was for me to move back to the family farm and help my granddad run things, and I could take off on the weekends and go play shows. And he passed away right before I got out. But when I did get on the farm, the cows would show up at 5:30, 6 in the morning every morning to be fed. At that time, he fed quite a bit of grain and stuff. And I slowly pushed that back, where I got my cows to walk up at the crack of 2 p.m. every day for food. It was just slowly inching them back a little bit, but they got the hint.
They're like big dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just came out with a live album too?
Yeah, that was kind of the piece of coming at this again after not being at it for very long, or not very long, but out of it for quite a while, I guess. Is I felt like I was pretty nervous stepping back into it, whether people would still be there or not, because I was kind of on a pretty good run there for a good bit. But stopping cold turkey and just going into oblivion is not the smartest career move. And so I was worried about whether people would be there, and it turns out they are. That's the first good thing. Venues have been showing up and whatnot. And I have this new batch of songs, but I really wanted to sort of reintroduce myself. Give something back to my existing fans, and then also sort of hey, you should check this out. You should pay attention, because in the next year we're going to get moving hard. And this theater called me, the Glois Theater in Springfield, Missouri, called me, and they're doing this YouTube series and wanted me to be on, and yeah, it worked out great. It was perfect timing to do a few more and get some fresh material out there before we start the big run next year. So,
how was that experience there?
That was great. I love that stage. They've been really, really good to me over the years. I've opened for a fair chunk of people there. Played the stage myself a few times for some events, like song circles and stuff. And then this thing was great. Anytime you get serious video like that's just huge these days, especially for someone like me, because I hate all of it. I mean, I'm on TikTok all the time, but I can never seem to bring myself to go ahead and push through the idea of I should do a video on that. I get busy, and then I start thinking about how much does it really matter? we're not going to be on this earth that long anyway. it gets pretty nihilistic pretty quick, you know.
And it's kind of like the all the musicians that are out there now too. You get lost in everything so easily.
Yeah, it's weird right now, that aspect of it. I gotta say, like, I've got friends who are really talented that are pretty big on TikTok, from not music, you know, like just
Mm-hmm.
from personality content, essentially, which is great, for them. But I think on some level it must kind of suck to have such a passion and put so much time and effort into crafting this art, and then be like, oh, it's actually, I could just like hold the camera up and talk about my day, and it gets as much view, you know, as much
Right.
views as I could possibly want or imagine. Um, and then also, like, it's pretty weird, like, you know, the labels, you know, chasing after, you know, viral hits and stuff like that. And I've not this. I feel like an old curmudgeon saying this, but like, I do think that there's something to be said for, like, you know, paying dues a little bit and knowing how to put a show on. And it's just a different animal. Socials are, you know. I mean, when I on the last album we did a like a press junket thing, and you know, did radio and TV, and I'd gotten pretty good at radio, because I had been on quite a few interviews and stuff, across the country, but the TV stuff is a little more rare, and it took me, you know, several times being on TV to kind of like go, okay, like calm the nerves down, and you know how to treat it differently than you would a radio interview. And that's the same for stage. I think, you know, there's a difference in, you know, playing a theater like the Gloys, where you're opening for somebody and everyone's paid $80 a ticket and they really don't want you to suck, right? They're actually really fighting for you to just be okay. Versus, you know, like I said, playing those honky tonks where they, you know, they shut the football game off right before you get on, and you've got people who literally want to fight you. Um, those are like, yeah, maybe you got to learn how to dodge those a little bit and work around them. And I think the social stuff is just the same. Like, I think someone can be really good at TikTok and socials and not have a great live show, and vice versa. So it's just another tool, but it's a weird landscape to be in.
Did you get a lot of rehearsal time before you did that?
Oh, the Gloys thing?
Yeah, the Gloys.
Oh, no.
None of wow.
No. In fact, the guy that kind of runs the theater is named a guy named Jeff Steele, who's just a sweetheart of a guy. After we were done, we went upstairs and did an interview thing, and then we were walking downstairs, and he goes, "Man, that was really good." He goes, "Had a real sort of like jammy feel to it that was, you know, pretty loose and like, but man, it was just so good." And I said, "Well, that's good to hear, because Thaddeus, the guitar player that was with me for it, we met about 2 hours before the show." I said, "Hey, man, did you listen to those tracks I sent you?" He goes, "Man, I've been so busy, I haven't even listened to them." He goes, "Let's run over them right now." So we met 2 hours before, and then we cut the thing, and we got 2 takes on each song. So that is what it is, you know.
Wow.
So,
They must have really good. I mean, you sounded really good, but also like to have that live recorded and stuff. I mean, the tech there and everything must have it sounded really good.
yeah, they did a really good job. I was impressed with it. So, and like I said, it was a huge opportunity for me. I've done some live albums in the past, and they're always fun, and they're usually pretty decent. It's almost like a Kickstarter situation, because you can sell tickets and like usually pay for at least the recording, before you're done with it, which is hugely helpful to not be stressed while you're singing the songs. But yeah, this was a huge opportunity for me. It was perfect timing, really great quality of stuff, and yeah, just worked out really, really well. So, and surprisingly, is like doing pretty decent. We got on some charts, some alt country charts. I think last week got up to 43. I'm not sure what's happening this week, but surprisingly picked up. I think one review said something about like you don't realize it's live until the very end, and there's like a soft golf clap
Right.
situation, very
No,
timid
yeah.
clap at the end. But
I agree with it though. Yeah, it does. It, like I said, that like it sounds so good. It sounds studio.
yeah, and it was wild. It was like live mics, like not live on, but like usually you'd think like condensers or something like that, and I think they were using. I mean, I think they were condensers, but it was like a beta 57 or something like that. It might have just been a dynamic. I don't know if it was the full Shure condenser mic, but basically just like stage mics, um, not super fancy Neumanns or, some giant $12,000 condenser mic. And had a monitor there, so the isolation was pretty good. Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, when we got the tracks in the mixing booth, I was like, oh, these are pretty isolated and pretty decent. So
And then now, is that a bit of a drive for you to Springfield?
it's like 40 minutes. It's not bad.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So
that's probably closer than some of the shows you go and play.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm driving. Let's see, Saturday I'm up to Pittsburgh, Kansas, a few hours away, and then I'm in Rulo, Nebraska the week after that. I was in Ann Arbor a few weeks ago, and then Montana. Like I go pretty much everywhere. And I'm stubborn. I drive because I hate flying. I like it if I don't have to bring any gear or anything. Buffalo's a weird little town. We're like 40 minutes from Springfield, which is the third largest city in the state. We're 40 minutes from Lake of the Ozarks, which is a huge like tourist thing. And there's like a university to the west of us and a big factory like Independent Stave that makes a lot of the like whiskey and wine barrels for the world. It's like 30 minutes the other way, and Buffalo just sits in this little hole where like nothing's really going on. And it's just a bunch of good folks who want to be left alone.
Right. It's kind of where I live. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's full of songs. I will say, like, people, asked like, are you going to move to Nashville or do this for years? And I can't. Like, there's too many characters here that need to be written about. So
that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, like how where you're at made who you are in your music.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, in some ways odd to think about. In some ways, it's it's kind of course that would happen that way. I My family moved to Buffalo, I think, sometime in the 1870s. So like we've been here for quite a while. And I grew up around the farm. I definitely I hauled hay and stuff when I was 8, 9 years old, driving the old truck, like this, trying to you can't see over the dash, hauling hay and stuff. And I go out, check fences, and sort of run cattle and stuff with my granddad. But when I started playing guitar and writing songs and stuff was kind of when they started like, why don't you hang back? Like, this might be a little dangerous. Like, you step back. And they didn't want me to like hurt my hands, right? And then also that was high school, and I wanted to get out of here like so fast. Just the first thing on my mind was leaving town, and I made it to Springfield. I went to college there. Had got a film degree, but halfway through college, I was driving back out in the country to smell fresh cut hay and stuff, of which I'm allergic to. So it was quite a sacrifice. Yeah, I don't know. It's I've always felt like country music, especially, has a duty to lift up folks who are going through rough times. I feel like there's a genre that really caters to that. Not that that's what it's all about, but like it always bugged me back when like the bro country days were like super hot. That was all about like loading up a bunch of beer in the pickup truck and going down to the creek and stuff. And it's like, man, I don't know anybody who does that. Like everyone around here is like working their ass off for like no money. And like they might do that on occasion, but like you can't do that every night and then go, bust your ass in the fields the next day. Like, not for very long anyway. So I don't know. I almost felt like a duty to try to tell those stories a little bit, at least make an attempt at it. So yeah, I'd say that's a big piece of it. Just to paint a different side of country rural life than you hear on mainstream radio. Which, back to what we were talking about with like no filters and all this music coming out, like there is some really great stuff in alt country coming out right now. It's insane. So
there's so many bands that, especially like the Texas scene. I've heard so many people talk about Texas just being crazy right now.
Yeah, Texas has always been big enough that like you can be a musician and just tour Texas alone and have a career, right? Oklahoma has a really strong songwriter scene, and they absolutely like circle the wagons around their songwriters. They support them. They come out to live shows. They stream them. The Ozarks is kind of an odd piece. I feel like sometimes, like we have a lot of talented people here. There's not many times that I am around the country and hear other artists and think, man, like this scene here like really has our home beat, there's a lot of talent here, but there's not much of a scene. People will just kind of farm out across the country or just fade away into oblivion. I always say about the Ozarks that like in the Ozarks, like somebody's granddad plays way better than you, and they're not wrong. Like they 100%, there's some guy sitting on a porch that's like, would put Billy Strings to shame, kind of thing. But they just fade into oblivion because there's no real market here. There's a few venues, and Kansas City has a decent scene, but that's a fair chunk north from where I'm at. Although I've noticed that there's more and more places are starting to claim that they're from the Ozarks, that we're part of the Ozark Mountain, kind of, and I'm like, well, that's not what you were saying 10 years ago. Kind of try to get away from us all 10 years ago, but it's all right. But
when you go and play live, do you have like a persona?
I drank too much, I'll tell you that. I'm trying to lay back on it a little bit. I don't really think so. I try to be me. I'm usually pretty extroverted at shows, just because I'm happy to be there. I'm amped up to be there. So, if you catch me on like a day that I'm just, messing around the town or something, I'm probably a lot more introverted and quiet. But yeah, it's pretty kind of what you see is what you get. I try to carry that through.
Do you have anything from a live show that was like super memorable?
I've got a few of them. I'm not sure that there's any necessarily that I want to say here. I'm trying to think of a good thing. But I don't know. Every live show's got like something that's like super fun about it. It's a fun table, or a happy accident of messing up a song and coming up with something that fits way better than what you had before. That's the magic of playing live, is that it's different every time. My drummer hates that about it. He'd much prefer that it was on a click and the same every time, but I like calling audibles. So yeah, I can't think of a singular memory. I've had some really great shows that I've done, opening for some legends and heroes of mine. And when I was younger, made some mistakes on some shows where I had a bit too much or didn't take it seriously enough or was just too cocky, frankly, as dudes in their 20s are apt to be. Um, I do remember one show that I played in Iowa that I thought the show started at 9, or sorry, I thought it started at 7. So I showed up at 5, thinking I'd have some dinner and do sound check and whatnot. The show did start at 9 instead of 7, and I had an opener, which I wasn't aware of. So I got there, like, I don't know, like 5 hours before I needed to actually be thinking about getting on, which is plenty of time to have a few rounds and maybe go smoke a little something in the freezer with the sound guy. And yeah, I definitely remember thinking, this is not my best, not my best performance. But and I went back to that bar about 4 years later at a music conference and hadn't set foot in there since. And I walked in, sat down, and ordered a beer. And the bartender goes, "How you been, Lyle?"
Oh,
I was
no.
like, yikes, that's not good. But I don't know. That's slowed down a little bit. Even though when I was younger, when I didn't pay as much attention to how much I was, uh, drinking and partying and whatnot, I still recorded my shows and listened to them back the next day, every day. So it was it was odd. It was never that bad. I'll say, like it. Um, I'm pretty cognizant to not be like a super sloppy drunk, And as a solo guy, like there's only so much you can do. Like you hit a wall, there's no band to like carry you. You're on your own. So that's a pretty terrifying moment. So um, that's another one of those things where I always felt like I was, just going crazy and was probably not that wild, but in my mind, I was having quite the time.
Well, I mean, it just depends on, there's probably people out there that, they play and they'd be like, "Oh man, I saw Lyle. He was crazy,"
Yeah.
or out
Yeah,
in the
there's
crowd.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's I don't know, and that's a weird thing because I've lost a handful of friends, and certainly music has lost a lot of friends of mine who had to sober up and get a real job and um or just struggle with addiction and lost that fight. It's definitely something you got to watch. It's a lot easier these days, I think, to be sober in the music industry and still do shows. It's not like a requirement. But it kind of, I felt like it was for a long time there. And I feel pretty good about uh, being able to navigate that without going too far overboard. But
Do you? Of course, I'm sure some venues, you play and there's alcohol there you can't drink, but you also probably play shows where there's not alcohol and stuff too.
um, yeah, those are probably few and far between for me. Uh, I mean, it certainly happens. I did like a residency thing in Kansas that was uh, a few bigger gigs, and then essentially like uh, playing for some like assisted living and nursing home stuff. Clearly, you're not getting trashed on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. With a bunch of folks from the nursing home. So there's a handful of stuff like that, but it's pretty pervasive, I would say. Um, but it's not pushed on you like it was. Like when I was in my 20s, I felt like people would send drinks up all the time, and I'll get the occasional stuff like that, but I don't get too many drinks being handed to me. A lot of times the bartender will say, something like, "Oh, hey, like, so-and-so wants to buy you a drink or they want to cover your tab or something like that. But especially after getting drugged, like I'm pretty wary of taking drinks from strangers these days. So
people can't afford that many drinks anymore either. Can't be dealing them out.
man, it is wild. I'd be lying if I'd say I hadn't blues brothered myself a handful of times with the tab. So
I've been to a couple concerts this year, and it's like 4 beers and I've spent more than the tickets to the show and a t-shirt.
Yep. Yeah, it gets pricey. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's this is one of those things where I feel somewhat conflicted on, in that like I said, I do have quite a few friends who are sober and are wonderful musicians. I don't think it's necessary to be a creative, or to put on a good show or anything like that. But also, I really do enjoy a little bit of whiskey and some tequila. So
just to get you in the mood, loosen you up a little.
yeah, I mean, it helps me specifically. I could do it without it and probably would get, fine with it being totally sober within, a week of playing shows. But yeah, I mean, it's, a glass of bourbon and a couple beers before a show hits pretty nice for me personally. But
do you ever throw anything out during a show, like you have like a crazy cover?
No, my cover list is, so I do probably about probably 80% originals, sometimes 90 if the crowd's good. I'll do 90% originals, but usually around 80% is where I try to stick to. So my cover list is pretty short, and they're all over the place, which I tell people because people will start, how do you know this one? And I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there because you probably the one you're thinking is not on my list. But I do try to do stuff out of genre, and I particularly like doing songs that were big hits for females, just because I really don't like being compared to the original. Like whatever that original song is, like you're never going to cover that as well as the original band, and probably the original band, if you went to see them live, is not performing it that way and up to that standard. They've probably changed it or can't hit the notes anymore if it's an older band, but it's still fun. So I don't like to be compared. So I try to keep that in that regard. Other than that, if someone yells Skinner or Freebird, I try to always play a Dixie Chicks song. So I like to poke the bear a little bit on those. Although I say that now I'm like, I'm kind of catching it from both ends because someone will yell Skinner and I'll say, well, I'll do this Dixie Chicks song for you. And that makes them mad. And then the people who heard me say that, who are upset that I'm not calling them the Chicks, which is mostly just a habit thing for me. I don't really care. Then they get mad at me. So yeah, I like to, somehow I manage to step in it all the time and make everybody irritated with me. But, such is life. I try my best.
No such thing as bad publicity, right?
Man, I don't know. I'm still thinking about a negative comment that was left on a video from like 10 years ago. So I got to get a thick skin on that stuff, which is probably the best thing I've done coming out of, I guess, kind of a semi-retirement situation. Was like, I finally felt like I had an idea of what I needed to do. And so I hired some few people and built a team, put a team together. And one of those was a social media person. And it's been so nice to be able to not worry about the content going up in a regular fashion. She takes care of that. And then I still get to step on and write my big, long, multi-paragraph thoughts on life every now and then. And it doesn't doesn't detract from like, feeding the algorithm and all that stuff.
That's awesome, because a lot of people that I've talked to, that's like one of the number one things that's been coming up. It's like a full-time job, and some of them are like, I hate it and don't want to do it. And then, some of them are like, you got a new song coming out or something, and they're like, I don't want to lip sync this same song for 50 videos and try to put that stuff out.
I gotta say, like, I'm really happy with my social media person right now, because she's I feel like she gets the vibe of what I'm trying to do. She gets who I am. And man, thankfully we haven't done any of those trends like that, like lip syncing your song in the car, or like I hate the one where there's like a producer and like a rando guy comes into the studio and it's the same person,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, you can't sing that. Yeah, I hate that skit. It drives me nuts. It's just so cringy. To me, music's about communication. It's about community. And I don't know, like if you're trying to sell it to me, like I'm not stupid. Like I can tell that you're just trying to market the song. All you want is that click. All you want me to do is stream that song. And I don't want that for people to listen to my music. Like I want you to like listen to my music and think, like, oh man, like that reminds me of the barbershop down the street from me, or that reminds me of this horrible time that I had with my dad, or this big breakup, or dealing with grief from loss of life and stuff. I want you to feel it. I want it to be personal to you. And when somebody's singing it into a microphone that's not plugged in the middle of a field, and they're outside, and yet they're have like, a ton of like Capitol Chambers reverb on it. It's like, clearly that's not live. Like, clearly you're lip syncing, but then leave the microphone out of the picture, I don't know. Those tactics really are frustrating for me. It just immediately, I discount the artist, which is not fair to the artist. They're just trying to do what they think they have to do to like make their song pop or whatever. But I think there's something to be said for finding your place, finding your lane, and being content with what you're putting out, and just kind of going like, this is it. This is what I do. These are my songs. I mean, obviously there's marketing, but I don't know, just find your vibe, find your voice, I mean, that's what we do with songs, right? We try to find something unique that we have to say. Otherwise, why say it? And the same thing with the marketing side of things, like, find a different way to get people to listen to your song than just doing the same like skit that, 10,000 other people are doing on TikTok right now. So
I had another gentleman, and he said that he's like, we're music artists, and we should be worrying about making music, not worried about making TikToks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. I mean, and streaming has gotten so far into the singles game where it's just like, you got to feed that beast. You got to keep putting material out, and like, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people don't stop to be like, is it good? Is it good material? Like, it's just keep throwing it out there, keep feeding the beast. And yeah, I mean, it's a craft. It's an art form. And you should take it seriously if you're wanting to do it at that level where you're actually putting it out on streaming and trying to perform, get a full show calendar full and all that stuff. And that's, if you're just jamming around in your garage with your buddies and you want to go, play the local brewery on occasion, like, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, go have fun, But if you're going to try to market something, you should make sure the product's good first. So,
do you have a person that helps you with booking?
I do. Yeah, We signed. So I wrote those batch of songs last fall that were kind of the um, impetus to like get out and do this again. And then went through the winter, and then the spring signed with a booking agent and brought on a manager, a publicist, and a social media person. So uh, it's good, but I mean, like, definitely every day I wake up and kind of have to go like, hey, like, you pushed it pretty far this time. Like, you kind of got to go for broke at this point, because it's really tempting all the time to like just kind of go like, hey, you know what, like, this is pretty good. I'll just kind of keep doing this. But there's a lot of people starting to be involved with my stuff that's wonderful. It's encouraging, but it definitely kind of go like, no, you gotta do it this now. You gotta actually like actually get the new album out, actually fill up next year's calendar and like get back out on the road. We're gonna try to hit 40, I think 42 states next year, playing. So back to the old days, just with a little less chaos than when I was younger. But I think that time on the road was good. It gave me a fair chunk of wisdom to like, you know when to pull back and know when to go for it and all that stuff.
That was just your training for this turn.
Yeah, yeah. And again, with all the music that's coming out, I do feel like there are some barriers. Like, I'm no spring chicken. Like, you know, uh, this wouldn't this wouldn't happen if this was 2005. Um, I'd be too old and too gray, too chunky, you know. And so there's good pieces of it, you know. I think people are genuinely listening. True music fans are genuinely listening to the music itself, and if it's good, they don't really care what you look like. Um, that aspect of it has been sort of eroded, which I think is great, you know. So
Yeah, I feel especially like the country music scene
oh yeah,
recently. So
yeah. And we got once we got over the everybody having to have a six pack, six pack abs and whatnot. Uh, I mean, Stapleton was, I think, the catalyst for a lot of that. He's just so talented. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, and he definitely like has his thing. You know when he's singing, you know. Um, but when he came out, I remember having a discussion with someone from Nashville who was tied in with one of the sort of big bro country bands, which I didn't know at the time. If I had known, I probably would have kept my mouth shut. We got into a pretty heated argument over what Stapleton was going to mean for the industry. Um, and I remember telling her that it was like the only reason people are listening to, you know, all the bro country stuff is because they don't have internet in their tractors. Like as soon as they get good cell service where they can stream Spotify, it's over, you know. At least to a certain extent, the monopoly of it. Um, and I think that's been borne out. Like, yeah, are there still bro country acts? Like 100%. Are there still cringy folks? Yep, there are. There's still an audience. They're just not. That's not the only audience out there now. You know, there's room for John Moreland and Coulter Wall and Charlie Crockett and all those folks. You know, so
people who can't be reproduced.
yeah, 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 who are unique and have their own vibe. So
I feel like with that
well,
bro country, you could just grab, a handful of people and probably make them into something that could fall
yeah.
into that genre.
Which I mean, I will say, I do think after Stapleton, there was a few years there where it seemed like every label had some like bigger white dude with a big beard, you know, and I was like, I remember thinking, I'm like, guys, this isn't the formula. It's not.
Hmm.
It's not. Oh, Stapleton was big. Let's go find have a lookalike contest.
Right. That's funny.
Like he made it because he's good.
Mhm. They're just like,
So
find me one now, and they're on the phone.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Like, let's go through the stack of people we've turned down over the last 20 years. Surely there's
Hmm.
one of them in there.
Go to the vault.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, yeah. I don't know, it'll be an exciting um, year, and I think that there's probably never been a better time for what I'm trying to do right now.
So you got big things coming up. 42 states.
Yeah, we're booking out right now. We've got some runs with some other songwriters that's going to be really fun. I can't say much right now because it's still in the like beginning phase of whatnot. But yeah, some cool tours lined up, and I think we're gonna have a really strong album. It'll be out probably about this time next year, June, July, August, somewhere in there. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. One thing about where I'm at right now is that like I feel like the next few years will kind of dictate what level I do this and the kind of venues I play. And I finally feel like this year we're almost back to where I was when I had a mental meltdown and went to the woods. So, so I'm excited to see how far we can push it past that. So
I guess that kind of lines up with what do you want to see as your end goal? When would you say you sit down and you go, yep, this is what I wanted to do?
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close to it right now. That'll be solved next year. Right now, my schedule's just sort of like I'm just ping ponging everywhere on a lot of one-off shows. So next year will be a lot more efficient touring schedules, and that's really when you talk about like what's the end goal, what's the thing where you go, okay, this is what I was fighting for. That's it, is to be able to play like a run of shows and not have to like bounce back and forth on the daily of like raising cattle, like being with kids, and then doing this show, and then like whatever order, spin the wheel of what this week's going to look like. Um, very much looking forward to being on the road, knowing that I'm on the road, and like having the family come with me or fly out for a little bit, and then coming home and being off the road for a few weeks where I can shift into a different mode. But other than that, I mean, the real thing I'm aiming for right now is just to be able to play venues across the country and know that someone's going to be there. you know, um, we we fill rooms in my region, and a few states out, but you know, I'll play Portland next year, and I don't know anyone in Portland, so I'd like to get this going enough where I can go play a show and know that there's going to be at least a handful of folks that are going to be interested in listening to the songs.
We should probably add Indiana on there. So I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
if you
yeah.
got 42 states, I mean, Indiana's got to be.
No, I'll be up there probably March, probably in March, I'm guessing. But yeah, I'll be through Indiana a few times next year because it's kind of like where I'm at. Like it's just such a great waypoint.
Crossroads.
Yeah, I mean, you go up to Indiana and you can split, north, west, east, and hit some other cool stuff. So plus I got to get that zombie dust again. It's been a while.
I'll have to find out and I'll bring you some.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you have coming up here soon?
Right now it's so we're just kind of winding down sort of promotion on this EP, which is like I said, done kind of better than we expected it to. We kind of just threw it out there thinking we'll just toss it to the wind and at least get my name back out into the ether. But we've got quite a few shows lined up, just sort of one-offs here and there. Some conferences and industry stuff this fall. But the big thing is recording this new album. So we'll go back in the studio probably in October. So we're kind of weeding through songs right now, figuring out which ones are like sort of rising to the top. But that's the big thing. So
awesome.
Always
man.
a new project.
Yeah, no. That's what you want though. You want to just keep, you want to keep going, keep doing stuff, keep putting, music out.
Especially when you get something that you are excited about, I mean, I think that's just what's been missing for me these years off the road, is not writing songs that I'm excited to share. And I've got some now that I'm just can't hardly keep under my belt. It's really fun.
What about how people can find you?
Yeah. LyalStrickland.com, Lyal is the only hang up there, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff, all the streaming platforms. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. I'm there. Most of the time it's me if you message. Sometimes it's the social media person, but that gets passed on to me. So yeah, reach out. Man, well, good to talk to you. I'll reach. Is that your email, I guess, that you sent? Right.
Yes. Yep. That's my email stuff.
I'll shoot you a message and I'll keep you updated if I roll through Indiana anytime soon. So
yeah, sure. And if you, when you start to get new stuff out and stuff, if I'm still on here and still making content or something, and I can see that, maybe I can reach out and we can do something when you get your new music out and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be super cool, dude. So
yeah. All right, man.
All right. Well, good to talk to you. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.